Welcome everyone. Today I'm excited. We're going to be working on crow pose. So it's going to be a little bit more workshopy. So there might not be a lot of flow elements involved, although we will have some blended in for you today. But this is really going to offer some time for your crow pose, because I know sometimes that gets thrown out in class. Oh, you can do your crow pose if it's in your practice, but then when do we ever get to learn how to do that to actually put it in our practice, right? So we're just gonna offer some time exploring that today a little bit. If you need to take breaks, if you need to give your wrists a break, just take those breaks. Sit down, watch, learn that way, and then try whatever it was that maybe we were working on to really help offer just time to let everything start to kind of, all the pieces come together. So sometimes that's watching and doing. If you have blocks, I want to make sure that you grab some blocks, because we might, or a book would be great, anything for just a little extra height. And once you have all of those things that you need, we're going to start on our backs today. So coming down into a Shavasana and just giving yourself a little bit of time, feet flop out to the side, arms take up lots of space, palms to the ceiling, and really just letting go of anything that you were doing, making time, space for your practice today. And maybe just offering yourself, giving yourself permission to try something new. So if you know what crow pose is, if you've tried it before, letting go of any kind of judgments that you might have around it, I can or I can't do it. And instead just allowing yourself some space to have an experience. And letting yourself move through these poses in a way that gives you freedom, even through maybe not getting something perfect. It's all part of the process. And just allowing that to happen today. Just take about 5 full breaths in and out. Those deep, expansive inhales, slow, fluid exhales, slowing everything down and creating this nice foundation for you to learn, explore. Maybe just have some fun. And one last breath in right here. Open your mouth, let it go. Start to blink your eyes open if they were closed. Turn wrists, ankles, full body stretch if that feels nice. And hug your knees into your chest when you feel ready. You can wrap arms around your legs, reaching for opposite elbows if that feels good. Before we move into any crow pose of any kind on our hands, we're going to find it on our back first. So to do this, bring your big toe mounds to touch. You can release your arms down to the mat. And as your big toe mounds are touching, spread your knees towards the sides of your body. So you're opening up your knees here. Palms of your hands come up towards the ceiling like you're trying to press the ceiling away. And then start to bring your elbows into the insides of your knees or your thighs. And you use the strength of your arms to press your knees away from one another. And then think of your hands right above your shoulders. So they're not close together, they're right above your shoulders. Flexing your hands back. Good. So this is crow pose on our back. Starting to rock forward, lift your shoulders off the mat here. Still pressing your elbows in towards your thighs. Try to lift those shoulder blades. Good. Notice the core engagement here. You need that even when we're on our hands in our crow pose. Thinking about pressing the ceiling away, pressing your legs away. Take one last breath. Release, hug everything in, or take a full body stretch, whatever feels appropriate for you. So you really need to light up your core for these crow poses. A lot of times people think that this is all arm strength, upper body strength. It's really full body. And something to note about crow pose is that it's really more about weight distribution than it is strength. So if this is new to you and if a new practice to you and you're not really used to putting lots of weight on your wrists and they feel a little bit sensitive, that's okay. You're going to develop that over time. But other than that, it's how you're stacking your joints and what you're doing with your body rather than, oh, I'm not strong enough. So just keep that in mind today. We're going to try that again. So big toe mounds to touch, create some space, press elbows to the insides of your thighs, hands towards the ceiling. Good. Stay this way or lift off of your shoulders. Hug in. Good. Full breath in and out. If you're shaking, just engage against any wobbles. So this is exactly what your crow pose may or may not look like if you take it or try it later. Good. Release, relax, hug everything in. Feet flat to the mat. Find a little bridge pose here. Stretch your core out. Squeeze your thighs towards one another. Lift your hips high. You can interlace your hands at your low back if you'd like. Untuck your chin, long spine through your neck. Breath together. Stay right here through your exhale. Good. One more breath. And exhale, lower. Bringing your hands right back behind your neck here. Interlace your hands. Lift your shoulders off the mat. You can bring your elbows towards the ceiling. So as you start to bring your shins parallel with the mat, breath in. Exhale, straighten out your right leg. Tap your right thigh towards your left knee or your thigh. Come back up as you breathe in, both legs over your hips. And straighten out your left leg. Left elbow comes towards that right thigh or knee. Keep moving, opposite knee, opposite elbow, and just using your hands cradling the back of your head, not pulling yourself forward or tugging, yogi bicycles. Good. Go about 5 more times on each side. Exhaling through the center, breathing in as you get long. Good. Nice and slow. Light up your core. Feel all of that engagement. Keep your shoulder blades lifted. Back through the center. And release. Hug in. Set your feet down. Stretch it out in your bridge pose. Hips to the ceiling. Arms press down into the mat. So there's this downward press with hands, arms, feet, so that you get that big lift high. Breath in. Breath out. Slowly lower your hips. Grab onto the backs of your thighs. Rock and roll the length of your mat a few times and then come to tabletop. Still working on that core engagement. Step your left foot back, right arm out. Hover those left toes off the mat. Breathe in. Exhale, crunch your knee towards your elbow. Hug up and in. Lengthen out on your inhales. Exhale, crunch. Straighten everything out. Breathe in, get long. Exhale, crunch. Come back out, stay here, hover, or bend your knee, reach back for your foot, kick your foot into your hand. Think about lifting those left toes closer towards the ceiling and that left thigh further away from the mat. One last breath. Softly release, stretch out. Come back to your tabletop, breathe in. Breathe out, right foot comes back this time, left arm out in front of you. It's like you're trying to shake somebody's hand. So rather than your palm down, it's to the side, lifting your right toes off the mat. Inhale, exhale, crunch. Lengthen out with your inhale, go with your breath, there's no rush. Exhale, crunch in. Lengthen, breath in. Exhale, squeeze. Come back out this time, stay, hover. Or bend, reach, find your foot, kick your foot into your hand as you lift those right toes high to the ceiling. Press into your right hand, open across your chest. Breath in, breath out, release, straighten everything out. Come back down, table, and find your child's pose. Forehead towards the mat. Breathe in and breathe out. 2 more breaths like this. Slowing everything down. Curl your toes, hips high, downward facing dog. Pedal everything out here, lift your hips up, let your torso melt towards your thighs, heels press into the mat. Take a full breath in. Walk your feet towards the top of your mat. Feet come out shoulder width or more distance apart. Toes point out, heels point in as you sink. Find your yogi squat. So imagine that I have blocks. Find some blocks. You can sit on a block if you have one, or a book. If it feels more comfortable to keep your hands down, you can. But if you're in this squat with your hands towards your heart, use your elbows to press in towards your thighs as you sink. Stay here for a few breaths. Full exhales out. So, coming into our crow pose, I'm going to talk you through a couple different ways. There's lots of ways that you can come into this. You can even jump into it from down dog. We're going to work through coming into it from a squat first. So as you can see, so stay in your squat as long as you would like, just to kind of watch so that you're doing a pose while you're learning at the same time, okay? So from your squat here, where our hips are really low to the ground, especially, if you're on a block, it's the same thing. And so if your center of gravity is lower, it's gonna be a little bit easier to balance. We're gonna come into this from a forward fold later. But for now, from your squat, release your hands down towards the mat, kind of where you would have them if you were gonna be moving into a high plank or even a down dog. So while they're there, either from your block or from your squats, rock the weight forward. So you're on your tiptoes now. Knees still towards your biceps, right? And you can even move them out further in front. So we're just moving the weight forward, right? And this might be what your crow looks like. You might just rock forward and you're on your tiptoes and you just kind of have your thighs hanging out. And then notice you can bend your arms as much as you want, making little tables if you'd rather, or you can try to straighten out. That's up to you. But for now, just from that squat, work on the weight distribution, rocking forward. What does that feel like? You might come squat to that crow shape, and you don't have to lift your toes, just tiptoeing forward. Okay, so it's just weight distribution. Rock it forward. So now you might try to stay here, let one set of toes hover, and then see how that feels. Maybe the other toes come up, and you can always set back down. So depending on how that feels and where the anxiety may or may not be coming from, for me, I always felt like I was gonna somersault forward. That's where you use your blocks, that's where you use your bolsters. You put a block right here and you rest your forehead on it, just like that. Make a little table for your forehead with your block or your book. Another option, from your squat, you make a perch. So you get that book, that block, put it on your mat, and then you step on it. And you can keep your feet together from this way. So you can do this from that perch or on your mat, but this time, rather than your feet out, rocking forward like this, you can try with your feet together, rocking forward like that. Notice how both of those feel and see what you think. So the more that your center of gravity is lower, the easier it is to balance, right? But that's gonna be much more weight to distribute if you're down really low. So exploring here from the ground, using your blocks for your forehead, using your blocks for your feet, noticing how that feels. Take a couple more times like that, practicing just rocking the weight forward and backwards. You can lift off if you want, get some hang time, or you can stay. And once you feel like you're good, you need a little break from your wrists, come back out. You can cross your legs, you can sit back on your shins, however you'd like, and just start to do a little wrist stretch here, circle, turn opposite directions, open up your fingers, like, what is this, spirit fingers? Turn your wrists. Good. And then bring your hands down towards the mat. Fingertips face back behind you, rock forwards, rock backwards. And then come onto the tops of your hands. Palms are facing up, bending your elbows and straightening. Not a lot of weight is here, it's just use the ground for the stretch. Good. All right, so now we're gonna try that again, but we're gonna do it from a fold. Just walking the weight forward. So forward fold, hips over your heels. Bend your knees as much as you need to. And just fold for a second, let your head hang heavy. So already noticing the hip difference here. Hips are way pointing up towards the ceiling in our fold, and in our squat, they're down towards the ground. So to come into your crow from these two different shapes is going to be a very different experience. And it's just for you to explore and for you to see how it feels. So plant your hands, bend your knees as much as you need, even though you are in your fold, that's fine. But hips are pointing up, not down. Good. And see if you can walk your feet in, come up onto your tiptoes, and try to bring your knees as close in towards your armpits as you can. So you've still got nice steady grip here. And really looking forward. So you want to look way forward off the top of your mat. This is going to help you from somersaulting forward. And you can still use your block here underneath your forehead or your book. You can still stand on a block from your forward fold if you need to come up a little bit higher. Good. So here is where you get to choose. You can squeeze your knees towards the outsides of your arms as you come up, or you can really try to bring them in towards your armpits, more on your arms, creating this little shelf as you bend, think chaturanga arms. And you might just lift one foot, then the other, but you're looking forward. Looking forward. Good, so just kind of exploring with that, starting with your hips high, tucking your knees towards your armpits, and then rocking the weight forward. Forehead can come to a block. You can stay like this with your toes down, or start to play with that weight distribution, lifting one foot. Maybe you lift the other. Think big toe mounds to touch. Engage your core, lifting your hips towards the ceiling. Really press your hands down into the mat. And just keep exploring through your crow in either of those shapes. You can start again from your squat, shifting forward, rocking the weight forward, or from a fold, hips higher. Sometimes that's a bit more scary. Use your block if you need it. Try whatever you're working on one more time, and then come back down, sitting on your shins, rolling out your wrists. This time, bring your hands out in front of you, palms face one another. Bring your right arm underneath your left arm, point your palms down, then point your palms towards one another. So your arms are crossed and both of your thumbs are pointed down. Palms touch, interlace your fingers. Bring your wrists through, up, and over. Stretch out your wrists. I'll show you that from the side. So palms face down, cross, thumbs point down, interlace your fingers, draw your palms or your hands down towards your lap, through your chest, and out in front. So you might stop here with your stretch, or you might come all the way straight. Still keeping your hands interlaced. Stay here, breathe in, breathe out. Come back through, down, out, release, shake out your wrists. And then do the other side. So cross the other hand under, interlace, through, up and around, stretch out your other wrist. Really, really great wrist stretch. If you stop here, that's fine. It doesn't matter. Good. Start to release everything, straighten it out. Take a full body stretch or a full stretch here as you grab onto your left wrist with your right hand and just lean over to the right, breathing into the left side of your body. Unravel, reach, grab onto your right wrist with your left hand and lean over towards the left. Beautiful. Inhale, release. Coming back down. So I'm just gonna show you a couple more little tricks and tips, there we go, that you can play with your crow pose. So if you're still working using your block to your forehead or sitting on your block perch, keep doing that. Eventually, you're gonna get more and more used to this. It's gonna feel comfortable. It's gonna feel less heavy. So again, thinking of this, pressing down to lift up, noticing what you prefer. If you like coming down really, really low to the ground, finding a crow pose like this, that's fine. Start where you feel comfortable. If you're happy up here with your hips high, tucking your knees in towards your armpits, do that. But notice how you have to rock all the weight forward as you lift up. Good. So, different things that you can work on, which are really fun, that you might try eventually. You can work on jumping back through a chaturanga from your crow pose, right? So you're in crow, you're hanging out, and then you want to take a flow, lift your hips high, press your hands into the mat, breathe in, exhale, land with soft elbows, in that lower plank, and breathe in, find your back bend, and exhale to your down dog, stretch it out. Just something to work on. You can work on jumping into your crow from your down dog, so you gaze way forward. I won't land this, but it's where you start. Shift forward. Think about knees in towards armpits as you jump into crow. It's really fun to try. Sometimes it's nice to do it with some pillows out in front of you, so in case you land soft. Good. So from here, back either into a crow or to your yogi squat. Press your forearms in towards your thighs, hips melt. You can be seating back or not. Another option here, if you have inversions in your practice and you're working on a crow to possibly a headstand, you softly, softly, softly lower your head to the mat, lift your hips high, 90-degree angles with your arms, stack your hips, and you could straighten your legs out, find that full headstand, or come back down, hug your knees towards your armpits, press your hands into the mat, shift forward, crow pose, and then even try to jump back right there for your chaturanga. Good. Releasing out of that yogi squats, or if you were exploring with any of those variations, coming out of it, bringing your hands to the mat, finding your child's pose, hips meet your heels, arms out in front. Palms can face up if that feels good on your wrists. And just let yourself have 5 or so breaths here. Slowing everything down. So that really is just a bunch of different ways to practice this. And honestly, it's just a matter of trusting yourself, feeling comfortable in these different variations, in these different shapes. You know, most of us, I would say, are not in positions like this very frequently throughout our day. So our brain is kind of thinking, what are you doing and why? Why is this happening right now? So the more your brain learns to trust these movements, the easier that they become. Good, so coming back up, walk your fingers towards your body, Swivel your hips off to the side and straighten your legs out in front, finding a little V shape here. Wide-legged forward fold, arms reach. Exhale, fingers crawl out in front of you. Good. Flex your feet back, melt your torso. Breathe in, long spine. Exhale, fold. Stay here. Walk your fingers forward. Nice and slow. Come on back up. And as you start to bring your feet towards one another, cross your ankles, crisscross, and shift back into this tabletop position here. And we're just gonna lower all the way onto our stomachs. Arms out to a T, little shoulder stretch here. So bend your right leg, roll onto the left side of your body, and let that right foot touch down onto the mat behind you. So you use your right hand as you walk it in closer, as you're leaning back into that left shoulder. So that left arm is still nice and straight, palm face down, as you lean back into it. Good. You can stay this way, or you can bring both knees to the ceiling. You can interlace your right hand and your left hand back behind you, finding a little bind. If your head's hanging out in space, totally fine. You can always rest it on a block. Take one more breath in. Roll back through center and go to the other side so that right arm stays down, palm face down. Left leg bends. Bring your left foot to the right side of your mat and use your left arm to straighten it out and lean back. You decide how much of a stretch you get here. You decide how far you lean back. Use every exhale to find some depth. And then come back through center. Hands right underneath your shoulders. Take a little baby cobra, press into the soles of your feet. Exhale, child's pose. Breath in. Breath out. Hands walk back towards your body, come upright. Cross your legs or sit on your shins. Arms reach overhead, breathe in. Exhale, find a twist. Left hand, right thigh, long spine, inhale. Exhale, look over that right shoulder. Unravel, breathe in, arms reach. Other side, right hand, left arm. Nope, that's a leg. Long spine, breathe in. Twist further. Good, unravel and reach, take up space. And pull your hands to your hearts. Breath in. Breath out. Let your palms rest down on your lap, face up or down as you close your eyes. Giving yourself a little time here to integrate all that movement, all those shapes. Notice how your body feels. And if there's any way that your body wants to move, honoring that. Otherwise, staying here in stillness, sitting down, pressing into your sit bones as you have this nice long spine. Navel towards your spine. Tuck your chin in where it's parallel with the ground. Let your shoulders melt. Breath together. Breath out. Start to blink your eyes open. Hands come back in through center. Bow forward in gratitude for your practice. Great job. See you next time. Namaste.